Hello, everyone. Kevin Gregg. We're back with another edition of Tetzeli Talks. With me is, of course, Helena Tetzeli, the talker. Helena has been an immigration attorney for a very long time and has a wealth of knowledge. And every month we like to talk about what's going on in immigration world and how it can help your case and just general advice, the most that we can give in like 20 minutes on a reel. How are you doing today, July 1st, 2025, Helena Tetzeli?
I'm doing better. I'm getting my voice back, Kevin. I had some sort of weird, who knows what, bronchitis, laryngitis, I don't know. So it's better than it was yesterday. So here we are. Apologies in advance for the occasional cough. I'll try
No,
to
well,
contain it. But
we can probably withstand three coughs, but if it's more than that, we're gonna probably have to stop.
that was a laugh, not a cough. Didn't count.
Uh,
It's just very true.
good
Okay.
to know. And the editor, take out that laugh or that cough, whatever it was. Thank you. Um,
Well, yeah, here we are, another busy week. Or not even say week, 7 days.
I,
Okay.
July
So,
July
yeah.
2025. Maybe it's the new child that my wife and I welcome, but I feel like I have aged. I did
You have
I
a
can't
see a little gray.
believe that what has come our way in only 6 months of the Trump administration, less than 6 months, and we're just getting started, but that's why we do what we do, and that's why we're
Well,
here.
and today, just kind of illustrating how quickly everything is moving today we were going to originally speak about the Trump v. Casa case, the Supreme Court's decision last week on universal or nationwide injunctions or not. And then what, an hour ago, you let us know that there was an important victory in the Heck case, the Haiti TPS case. It just came in, right? And it actually refers to Trump v. Casa.
That's right. It's a heck
Yes.
of a case, as I keep saying. It's just a good joke. Haitian Evangelical Clergy Association, of which Ira Kurzban, the founding partner, is lead counsel, and me and others at the firm are on it, and of course the law firm Brian Cave and Just Futures Law. And we've been working also in coordination with ACLU and the other teams who are doing other TPS cases. So this is a win for our firm, but a lot of people, a lot of hard work went into this, and we're really happy. And it has prevented for now, until the inevitable appeal, of the early vacature of TPS for Haiti. And that was the big elephant in the room. Everybody was waiting, including the federal judge in Brooklyn. He was waiting for what the Supreme Court was going to do in the birthright citizenship case with nationwide injunctions. And that is one of the reasons. It's no coincidence. I mean, this decision was clearly written, right, by the judge, because it gets issued 2 business days after the Supreme Court's birthright citizenship case. He was waiting. It's very clear. And fortunately, and you'll get to it right now, there was some language in the birthright citizenship case that proved very important for us.
Yes. So, the birthright citizenship case, it really is going to create a sea change, or maybe it's not, but I think it is, regardless of the decision in that. It's going to create a sea change in how impact litigation proceeds, or the impact that impact litigation will be able to, will have, whether it will be nationwide or confined to the named plaintiffs. And one of the, I guess, exceptions to the restriction on nationwide injunctions that was hinted at in the majority opinion is APA, restraining orders under the APA for arbitrary and capricious government action, or for unlawful government action. And the majority opinion was a little coy about that. In her majority opinion, Amy Coney Barrett, the Honorable Amy Coney Barrett, just basically one throwaway that their decision, that the Trump v. Casa decision, does not resolve the distinct question whether the APA authorizes federal courts to vacate federal agency action. So the judge in the Hecka case dug a little deeper, went into one of the concurrences by Justice Kavanaugh, because Justice Kavanaugh is much more, I guess, full-throated about it, which is heartening if you're on the plaintiff's side. And he cites and quotes from the concurrence saying, to be sure, in the wake of the court's decision in Trump v. Casa, in cases under the APA, plaintiffs may still ask a court to preliminarily set aside a new agency rule. So that is what probably led this judge to be able to feel that he could
Right.
grant the relief in this case. So that's a hopeful sign. We'll see what
It
happens.
was a big fight even before the birthright citizenship injunction case. We keep calling it the birthright citizenship case. It actually has nothing to do with
It's
birthright
the
citizenship.
case on universal injunctions. It's just
Right. The Supreme
yeah.
Court could have just answered the birthright citizenship question. In fact, the dissent makes clear that the US government wasn't even defending the merits
Hmm.
of Mr. Trump's executive order. So the fact that the Supreme Court picked this decision to do a nationwide injunctive relief and allowed this horrific chaos to exist for at least another year about who is a citizen and who is not, even though the U.S. government can't really defend its position, that is quite frankly unconscionable, in my opinion. But absolutely, even before this, our APA claims different, and it seems the Supreme Court thinks so, and it definitely seems like Judge Kogan does. It's a set aside of what the executive has done. It's not an injunction. It's not saying you've
Correct.
done this and you can't do it. It's actually that shouldn't exist. We're setting it
Exactly.
aside under the Administrative Procedures Act as violative of administrative law. So while and the government's argument is always in effect, it has the same or similar result, that is preventing the executive from doing what it wants to do. But that's not how law works, right? I mean, distinct legal tools and distinct legal rights and reliefs lead to distinct legal results.
So tell us what else the judge ruled in the Heca case.
That was a heck of a ruling.
God, Kevin,
Okay,
it's the
how many
second
do I
time. All right,
get?
give it up. We
I feel
left. We're done.
I feel like I get four.
No, you
If you,
don't.
if you get the
No,
week off,
in
I
a
get four.
lifetime. In a
Okay.
lifetime. No, this is
Oh, well,
go
the judge
ahead.
the judge found that there was standing. The judge is recognizing the injuries that taking away TPS to tens of thousands of Haitians who've been here for many, many years. How even taking it away early is
Implicates the plaintiff's reliance
the reliance
reliance interest,
interest.
and he explained that in
And
detail.
and I've spoken with all these plaintiffs in detail. I've they have real lives. Some of them have medical issues. They have families with medical issues. They have businesses. They're part of their community. I mean, this is a huge deal. Even if this is only preventing the early vacature, and the February termination of 2026 remains for now um, valid. The judge also made short shrift of the government's jurisdictional arguments. In fact, during oral argument, the judge said something along the lines of to the U.S. government, you've been losing that jurisdictional argument in a lot of courts, haven't you? So the idea that you can sue when a president takes a when a pre, the Department of Homeland Security secretary takes away TPS, the fact that you can sue. That's a big deal. To have it reaffirmed, it's a big deal. Relying on the Kurzban law firm and Mayor Brown and Just Futures Law win in the Sajay case during Trump won. And and then finally, and I think it's really important, both legally and politically, that the government wasn't really defending the merits of Secretary Noem's early termination of TPS for Haiti. Um, and they couldn't really, because in doing so, Secretary Noem didn't cite to any of the factors that are required to terminate, country conditions, etc. By the way, in the full termination that just occurred, we're talking about the temporary
The
one.
one
In
from
the full,
the July 1st full termination.
yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
today is
Mhm.
right. In the full one, that now will probably have litigation against that as well. And the full one, Secretary Noem cites to all. She discusses country conditions in Haiti that historically would easily
Would
warrant an
justify
extension.
redesignation. Right.
So they're not even actually trying to talk about the facts of Haiti. That's crazy what's happening now. But be that as it may, the government seems to have given up on that and came into federal court and says DHS secretary has the inherent authority to do whatever she wants with TPS, to paraphrase the government's argument, which is just an astonishing argument. And I don't blame the line DOJ attorneys, but that is the position of the executive, which is also a dangerous place to be if you think you're not going to be in the executive at any time in the future. But the court's rejection that a DHS secretary has inherent authority to do whatever she wants, even if the statutory text is quite clear, the rejection of that, I think, is very important, well beyond TPS for
And
Haiti.
here he rejected it, just to be clear, because there were a number of different claims. The rejection here was because of she didn't comply with basically the time prescriptions for termination of TPS. So the judge may explain that he hasn't ruled on the arbitrary and capricious nature of the action, equal protection, anything else. So what's going to happen next? Is there going to be an appeal? I mean, this is a partial summary judgment. It's generally not appealable. What do you think is going to happen next in this case?
I'm supposed to be the host asking you questions,
But
Helena
this is
Tetzeli.
your case, so the roles are slightly reversed.
I just happen to be on it. But what happens next is up to the US government. Candidly, it seems like we have achieved most, if not all, of what we wanted during this first stage of the TPS litigation. So I'm not sure what will happen next with this case from our end. I can only imagine that from the US government's end, they will try to get this to the Supreme Court somehow. Supreme Court is on vacation until the fall, but they'll try, I can only imagine they'll try to make an emergency out of this and try to get some relief, possibly on the docket. Um, Never say never because some wild things have been happening on the shadow
On the
docket,
shadow docket,
especially
yeah.
in immigration. But we are walking that line. This is not an injunction case. I believe that the third country removal was an injunction, for example. And so maybe you can say, okay, they summarily got rid of that injunction because they knew that this birthright citizenship case was coming. They didn't explain themselves because they knew it was coming. Okay, I'll give them that, even though I don't agree with that way of judging. But here we don't have a preliminary injunction. We have an APA case that Justice Kavanaugh and even the majority in that footnote seem to have said was okay.
I
So
mean, they've been pretty good at picking their battles, Kevin and I would say. Because of that, they may not appeal this.
may
Just
not because we've gotten, let's be very clear, at most we've gotten, September, October, November, December, January, we've gotten 6 months.
right.
Um, which is meaningful, as Judge Kogan makes clear. But do they pick that? But do they pick this fight over 6 months? We'll see. It's up to the Solicitor General. If he's listening, you can give me a call at 305-444-0060. We can talk about whether or not this is the appropriate case for you to bring to the Supreme Court.
Okay. And one of the other routes the court left open in the Trump v. Casa case, of course, is a class action. So
Will
brush
we?
up on that now, Kevin.
That's
Yeah,
right. Will we be
exactly.
bringing a class action in the future? I mean, I that we well,
Well, I believe there was already a class action, a request to have a class certified in district court in Maryland in the wake of the Trump v. Casa decision on the birthright citizenship
on the
question.
birthright, right? What are we
Yeah.
going to do in the TPS case? The attorney
Yeah,
chief.
I'm talking about, yeah,
Uh,
in that
yeah,
case. Yeah.
yeah.
So
But I think we need these things. No matter what happens next, it's important when federal judges recognize truth and the ability for even some of the least privileged individuals in America to still get relief in federal court. There's a lot of fighting and a lot of negativity going on right now, and to me, this is something to celebrate.
I agree, Kevin. Okay, so in other immigration news, there was a travel ban. Was that a couple of weeks ago? The travel ban was finally issued by the administration. I think as immigration practitioners, we've been expecting that to come down sooner, sometime in March. Came down mid-June, I believe. So that is with a partial and a total travel ban, depending on what country you hail from. So if you're from Afghanistan, a number of other countries, there is no travel to the US. There are some exceptions, the usual exceptions. When I say usual exceptions, the only other time I recall having travel bans other than the Muslim ban was during the pandemic. So we have the usual exceptions, green card holders, diplomats, members of the military, etc. But it's kind of crafted a little differently from the previous travel ban. So if you are from a country subject to a partial travel ban, then you really have to parse it. So it applies, for example, if you're from Venezuela, there is a ban on travelers who are Venezuelan nationals, not dual nationals. They wouldn't apply to a dual national, but Venezuelan nationals who have a visitor visa, a student visa, or cultural exchange visa, a J visa, or an immigrant visa, with the exception of an immigrant visa that's based on a petition filed by an immediate relative of a US citizen. So, for example, we have clients now who are, well, expecting to be able to process for employment-based immigrant visas at the US Embassy in Bogota. They're Venezuelan. And unless they have dual citizenship, they now cannot, or they might be issued the immigrant visa, but they will be restricted from entry.
So to be very clear, the U.S. government has prohibited individuals who, for example, have invested $1.2 million in America and received an EB-5 immigrant visa, or who are exceptional managers and are coming here with that type of immigrant visa. The U.S. government is saying we don't want those people. You can't come.
Not if you're from, Venezuela, Cuba, half dozen other countries. Yeah, correct.
That seems surprising. It's not the policy I would choose.
Kevin, I wish you were in charge of immigration, not the policy you would choose. Okay, yeah, no, I'm sure it's not the policy you would choose.
There's already a travel ban if you're coming to America and you have a meme of JD Vance's face doing anything other than looking vice presidential. So can we talk about that? Have you seen that meme that Norwegian guy has? That makes me laugh every
I
time.
have not
I
seen that
and
meme.
I
No.
will go to Alligator Alcatraz
Please text it to
before
me
I
later. I have
delete
not
that.
seen
I
it.
will. Well,
I not try not to see anything visual with either Trump,
oh,
Miller,
it's
or
very
JD
funny.
Vance's
It's
face
just
on
very amusing. I mean, it all started, if you recall, but when they were bullying the President Zelensky in the White House, and JD Vance said, have you even said thank you yet? Just very, very concerned. And so from there, many memes developed, which is the beauty of millennial and Gen Z culture. And so really,
Thank
they're
you.
coming after our culture by not allowing this Norwegian kid to come in with a very amusing meme. And if that's not First Amendment protected, I don't know what
I
is.
have not heard of this incident. So this kid was actually
Yeah.
refused
Yes.
admission
Yes.
because of the meme on his
Yes.
phone.
Yes. At the airport. Yeah.
And
Oh,
the
you hadn't
meme
heard
was
it.
of JD Vance doing what?
Well, yeah, they kind it's hard to explain. There are many, many, many memes of JD Vance. They kind of blow up his face, kind of make him look like a blueberry. When you say it, it's not so funny. They're very amusing, and there's many of them.
But it
This
really
is
is not funny that somebody was denied
no,
admission to the United
yeah,
States
no,
of
I think
America
it was either
because of political content on their phone. I mean,
it's barely political. That's barely political.
but
It's really
even if,
just amusing.
especially if it's political, especially if it's political, it's sad that something like that, it's tragic. It's embarrassing as an American that
It's all of these things, and I suppose I'm just trying to. I want to show it, but also maybe we could provide it in the show notes. I don't know. We have
yeah, I'd love to
very.
see it. Yeah, but
It's
somehow
very important that this First Amendment protected speech be shown in the show notes. So, um, yeah, no, that I can't find
I
it right
mean,
now. No,
I
that
think
happened.
comedy is protected by the First Amendment. Last time I checked, political speech is clearly protected by the First
I don't
Amendment.
think JD Vance has a sense of humor. I think that's
I
the
don't think he
problem.
does either. Yeah,
That's the problem.
it's sad.
And he's a millennial. He should know.
Yeah,
He should know.
he's in thrall right now. Yeah, yeah.
What
Okay.
else would you like to talk about? Mahmoud Khalil or what?
Haven't heard much. He was released from detention finally. Um, he hasn't been redetained. I
Yeah.
haven't heard of any. I have not followed that case since he was released. The next important step, I think, is a decision, a ruling from a court in New Jersey on constitutionality of
Yeah.
274A4C. But
I think like the TPS case, the decision we just got, a bit like Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and these other cases, when the U.S. government is forced to actually go into federal court and justify itself on the facts or even the law, they keep losing because when they actually, if they can't hide behind jurisdiction and standing, or in Kilmar Abrego Garcia, kidnapping and sending abroad, if they can't hide behind those things, then they don't really have the better argument. And for the executive to take that position is scary, and it's not how I learned law should be practiced in law
speaking of
school.
that, what about oh God, the kind of bizarre motion to recuse and the lawsuit against the district court judges in Maryland that came in last week?
Why? What it was emotional because I think they sued them to get
Yes,
rid of
there was
their
a complaint.
standing.
and a motion to recuse.
Well, when you sue the entire bench,
All the judges,
when you sue the whole bench, I guess you got to ask
all
to
the
recuse. I
judges,
guess my problem isn't with the motion to recuse. If you're going to file that lawsuit, you kind of have to file the motion to recuse.
obviously, but all the judges, because of the chief judge's standing order, on habeas petitions and jurisdiction and moving, detainees all over the country
Yeah.
to avoid
The, the DOJ thinks that they have
the
a
forum shop, essentially, right?
well, DOJ thinks that they have a Supreme Court who is willing to give them a lot of what they want, and until they're proven wrong, I think that they will keep bringing lawsuits like this and pushing the boundaries of what they can do.
And keeping practitioners like us busy. Exactly. Yeah.
I could do without this busyness, I'll tell you that. But it's, we're here to help, and this is why we
And we
became
had a win today.
antagonists. We had a win today.
We had a win today.
We'll have
Yeah.
a win next week,
Yeah.
and we'll keep fighting.
Yes, exactly. Thanks, Kevin. Good to see you
Thank,
again.
thank you, you too.